Hello and welcome to week 7 in the history of psychology, where we're going to be taking on chapter 7, the continuing our discussion about functionalism, but getting into the nitty gritty about defining that era within the field of psychology. And we're introduced right at the beginning again to Herbert Spencer, the sociologist, who actually is responsible for coining the term survival of the fittest. He was actually referring to societies and economies. So at that time in U.S. history, he was kind of a folk hero among the industrialists and whatnot that felt that the American experiment was truly going to be a magnificent example of a society and an economy that would be the fittest and would survive through all sorts of changes because of our adaptability, our resources, and whatnot. And certainly that's being put to the test right now. We have an era of American history going on right now where there's some substantive change going on in terms of the grand American experiment, and we have yet to see how that's going to actually turn out. The characters that start entering the stage here, we have William James, who was kind of he was from wealth, and had varied interests, including an interest in psychology. And when he put together his book, which was, let me see if I have that, I think it was just Psychology, it was called. He opposed Wilhelm Wundt in terms of Wilhelm Wundt's structuralism and looking at the components of cognition and whatnot, and really develop the notion of what functionalism is about. He also was very good at taking the complex ideas that exist within the psychology and pulled them all together and wrote them in a language that was very understandable for more and more people, really pushing forth the idea of the study of psychology. We then see I introduced a couple women who are coming onto the stage here as women are entering into PhD programs. That wall is finally falling a little bit. And we see two very interesting individuals. We have Helen Woolley, who did research looking at the existing psychological tests and said that basically men and women perform equally on those. So we see this kind of charge forth of equality within the field of psychology. And then we look at the work of Lita Hollingsworth, who looked at intelligence specifically and found that both men and women varied in their intelligence in equal ways. So these two individuals coming onto the stage in the world of psychology in America, primarily, working on establishing credibility for the idea that men and women are the same. G. Stanley Hall shows up, starts the American Psychological Association, and we have kind of the defining of what do we mean by functionalism. Three areas is the psychology of mental operations, the actual tasks, the functional tasks that we, rather than the elements itself. So moving away from the Wundt model into the functional model. We look at the utility of consciousness. What can it do? Remember, there's a strong emphasis on the function of our cognition to remain adaptable and to operate within the environments in which we are. And then finally, the functional aspect here, that there is a relationship between the psychophysical aspect of our bodies that addresses us within the context of where we are operating. We end up with a discussion on the concept of the survival of the fittest. What are the positive elements of that particular perspective? The quiz asks you to do two things. The two questions. The first question is to analyze the process of reading the course book from the structural point of view, meaning those elements of cognition. So you have to go back into the previous chapter, get that around, and then describe your reading of the book. And then the second question, describe that same process using the functional perspective. So you're looking at that dichotomy. These were coexisting, primarily a European model versus an American model of psychology. And then we see that we have a special assignment. The first one comes up, and it is the article review. Now, for this particular assignment, what I've done is I subscribe to the Journal of the History of Psychology. And that, let's get to the assignment here. That journal is not held in our library, nor is it in EBSCO. So here's the article review assignment. Go through the purpose here. Get this, what can we understand about studying history? Then we have the History of Psychology LibGuide. I'll get there. There's file types and naming conventions for the social sciences here, a little bit how I like those file types for assignments. And then here's is the rubric about what I want you to do. Now, right here, the History of Psychology LibGuide, this will bring you to a LibGuide that I've created here. This is on the KVCC LibGuides for the Social Sciences and Psychology Department. And if you scroll down here, you're going to see a whole list of articles. This list of articles are the articles from which you will choose to do your article review. So these links will bring you to those, I believe they're going to bring you to those full text articles. So click on that one here, and maybe not. Maybe you'll have to go through the library to get these. But you're going to pick from to create a discussion board inside of Brightspace. It's going to be, I'll put it right in the timeline. And in that discussion board, I want you to get in there quickly, and I want you to claim your article. If you wait, you'll have less choices because I want each of you to do a different article. So you're going to look at this list. You're going to pick the one that you want. You can copy from that list and say, this is the one I'm doing, and make a claim on that article for the article review assignment, special assignment. So I'm going to go and create that discussion board right now. And that's what we have for this week. We have the discussion on survival of the fittest. We have the quiz asking you to describe reading the course book from a structural and functional perspective. And we have the work on the special assignment. Keep in mind that when you are writing this article review, I'm expecting you to be using APA style for the title page, in-text citations, and for the references page. So the references, not works cited, not bibliography, none of that. References, you'll have a references page, and it will have the APA formatted reference for the article that you picked, which, by the way, is exactly the way I have them on this page. So right there, that's a given. So enjoy the reading, enjoy learning about functionalism. I'll see you in the discussions. Have a great week, and take care.